Hey, welcome to Cody in the Cinema. Today I'm discussing my top 10 favorite musicals, the ones that have resonated with me, the ones where the music gets stuck in my head. So I'm really valuing that music, that repeatability of the music. I can't get away from it. I love it. I go back to the film, even if it's not the best film, because I love the music. I did this entirely from the heart. I try to throw away all the critic recommendations, even though obviously some of these are critically acclaimed, and just really get down to what makes me love music, musicals. Let's go. Number 10 is this experience. I remember being in a small theater the first time I saw this. I really didn't know what I was in for, but a lot of folks from town came to this showing. Must have been 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock on a Friday night, and they were in costume, and I definitely wasn't. And I was initiated into what has become quite the meme experience around Halloween, the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I've seen this in its entirety a few times, and I like the first half a lot better than the second half, but you cannot deny how much fun Tim Curry is in that, how much fun it is to just yell at the characters. It gets under your skin. It's like, I'll never, like, of all the theater experiences I've ever had, that has to be like a top 5. So those of you that have been to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, what was your first experience like, or one of your experiences like? You'll have to let me know in the comments. And if you have not seen Rocky Horror Picture Show live, you should. And if you haven't heard of the Rocky Horror Show, or you don't know what it is, a young couple just married. I think they were just married, right? Yeah, they were just married. What's the song? Darn It, Janet, but he doesn't say darn it. And they show up to Tim Curry's house, and he's something of a vampire. They won't spoil too much more of it than that for you, but oh my goodness, what a musical. I love top 10 lists about movies I love. Speaking of love and vampires and blood and spookies and gore, I absolutely love, the more I think about it, even though it has some things I don't love, but overall, Sinners. I just recently reviewed this. I have listened to pieces of this soundtrack on and off ever since. For me, it is the music first and everything else second, and that's why it's on this list. I think I will be listening to the Sinners soundtrack for the rest of my life, very possibly. If you're not familiar with Sinners, somehow you've missed that. Michael B. Jordan plays a pair of twins who have come from Chicago in back to this 1930s town, I think in Mississippi, and they're trying to arrange a get-together, and they've borrowed a young guy from church who has to literally say, "I lied to you, I love the blues." And Haley Steinfeld's in it as this long-lost lover, and there's a lot of different blending of a lot of different genres. And again, the music's very repeatable, it's very catchy, it is innovative as it can be, especially with the lead song and how that transpires with song and dance in this, what do you call it, it's not a bar, it's just like this building that they've bought. And it is so much fun, and it is great as a musical, and with those vampire and horror elements as well. I highly recommend you see Sinners, if nothing else, for the soundtrack. Like I said, I have a vocals playlist where I pick songs that just, like, I love the sound of the singer vocals, and this is always, this is definitely has 4 or 5 songs at least on there. Sinners. All right. Those are 2 scarier ones, kind of scary. Now let's go to something real wholesome. A film that probably is among the 4 or 5 that really got me in love with the MGM style musical. A film I love to watch around Christmas time. I still remember the last time I watched it at Christmas, just exactly how I felt, what time of day it was. Terrific, beautiful film, Meet Me in St. Louis, that does take place over multiple seasons. Judy Garland stars in a timeless tale of family captured with warmth and emotion by director Vincent Minnelli. And she's really funny in it. The big songs, Meet Me in St. Louis, the trolley song, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, that is on my holiday Christmas playlist, and I love it. It's my favorite version of that song. And they're having some issues with whether or not they should move. It's a beautiful film. It's a stunning, real good piece of art in and of itself. But Meet Me in St. Louis is, then it goes through, there's a Halloween segment, so like I said, it's very seasonal all the way around. Do see Meet Me in St. Louis if you haven't. It's a little on the longer side, but probably like the perfect Christmas movie, because even though it doesn't take place all the way through Christmas, the way it ends and the story and like the feeling and the snowmen, you gotta see it. Meet Me in St. Louis, what a beautiful film. Another film that caught me, I think I was in the 9th grade or so when this came out, and we were actually studying the Odyssey. the epic, the Odyssey, which I've taught in English classes since. And the film, although it's uneven as a film, it has beautiful, wonderful music. And I was from, the Appalachian area, so the music was especially noteworthy for me. The Coen brothers, not Meet Me in St. Louis, I just did that. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I have multiple songs on I have a playlist. It's literally called Brood, where I have like string instruments and like, I shot someone, now my life is in jail, that kind of thing, that kind of Johnny Cash sort of playlist. And some of the songs are in there from that. I think Big Rock Candy Mountain is in there, which a great rendition of that. Man of Constant Sorrows, sometimes I put that in there as well. And it's just one great song after another. There's an Alison Krauss song in there. And it's a retelling of the Odyssey imagined as a group of men escaping from prison, trying to find a treasure, instead of Odysseus trying to find his way back home. And they run into, instead of a Cyclops, like in the Odyssey, they run into John Goodman as a one-eyed Bible salesman, that kind of thing. There are sirens, that's pretty funny, especially if you like Tim Blake Nelson, who was great in Old Henry, by the way. See Old Henry. I found another chance to plug Old Henry. It's just a terrific musical, folks. You got to see Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And I remember at the time that came out, everybody was listening to the soundtrack. You know what I mean? Like every single person was listening to that soundtrack that I knew. Still love it. Still love the soundtrack. Love it. Love it. Love it. Despite how uneven it is. And I'm going, the next pick, my number 6 pick I think it's a musical, but a lot of it's a drama and kind of a comedy. And at first glance, you might think it was just shot to be a cheap, quick buck, and it probably was, but it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of risen above its initial reputation and become something of a real classic in a film I'd love to get a Blu-ray of. It's just expensive. This is Whoopi Goldberg's Sister Act. I used to watch this all the time in the summers in my little camper when it was raining. And if you haven't heard of Sister Act, which I have a VHS somewhere, Whoopi Goldberg is in a toxic relationship with Harvey Keitel, who's something of a club owner, kind of a ruffian, if you will, a gangster, of course, Harvey Keitel. And she sees something and she has to get witness protection in a convent and become a pseudo nun. And she grows to love the community around her and helps rebuild the choir there, which is not very good. And the music, I have 3 or 4 tracks on my vocals playlist. I really like how it explores, some basic things about faith and self-exploration and redemption. And it's kind of funny and it's kind of charming and wholesome and silly, and it's just a really good time, and it's a real nostalgia factor for me. So those of you who have seen Sister Act and do or don't like it, let me know, do you think it's a musical? I think it is, especially since the music plays so much into the plot. Like the main last song really kind of it sews everything together, denouement, if you will. But great songs in that one. Kind of an uneven film, but a really enjoyable one. Now, my number 5 pick is sort of a documentary, but it's basically a musical because of its style. So That's Entertainment, the original film, That's Entertainment, was sort of a propaganda piece from MGM Musical Studio, where they talked about their history and different actors who had gone through there, great musicals they had done. So it goes through a whole list of those, some of which I'll be talking about soon. And they did, of course, talk about Meet Me in St. Louis, for example. And what the film does is it had different, for example, Liz Taylor would introduce a song or an act or a film, right? And then she would pass it off to another actor who would then talk about another piece. And it goes through some really old stuff that they did all the way into their really great films. And I think That's Entertainment is the first film you should watch if you're getting into musicals. A long time ago, I did a video about how to get into musicals, what to do if you're new, but I love That's Entertainment. My current copy is worn into pieces. I need to get a new one, but to me, it's a musical. So That's Entertainment, the first one. I haven't seen the others, but that's the one I'm going to put at number 5. And now at my number 4 pick, when I was a little kid, I think I watched The Wizard of Oz. I have heard I watched this well over 100 times. I was apparently very drawn to this film when I was young. I have a VHS of it that I used to watch that I've kept on one of my bookshelves. The Wizard of Oz, Dorothy's adventure to Oz with her 3 companions. I mean, it's interesting if you actually look at the history of that film, how dangerous it was and how much calamity was involved, and just, it's amazing the film even ever got off the ground, much less became great. Roger Ebert has a fantastic review of it as well, and there's so much spooky kind of creepypasta stuff around it, a lot of which isn't true. I've heard the Dark Side of the Moon. I've heard that trick, which I've never tried, where you play, isn't it like you play the Dark Side of the Moon to this? I've not done it, but apparently that lines up. So if you're into Pink Floyd, you can do that. But the Wizard of Oz, I've actually visited in Kansas. There's a little town you can visit where you can actually, like, the whole town is like sort of painted in Wizard of Oz colors and different things. I think it's close to Topeka, I'm wanting to say. That's where I'm wanting to say it is. Someone will have to let me know if you can think of it. I can't remember the name of it. But there's like literally a place in Kansas where you can go and you can like visit a little museum that plays the film over and over. But Wizard of Oz definitely had a great impact on me over the years, okay? Beautiful film. One of my favorite memories in my 20s with movies was watching my old VHS that I hadn't put in X number of years on a TV and seeing that it still worked all those years later. All right, number 3 is a film I literally have a decorated plate of, a film that goes up on my list every year, something I think is vastly underrated. The only pairing of Judy Garland, who we just mentioned a couple of times, and Fred Astaire. This is my favorite film with both of those actors. This is Easter Parade. And she is basically in this one, she ends up sort of accidentally working for Fred Astaire while he's trying to use her a little bit to get after, I think it was Ann Miller, right? Ann Miller, who was his love interest at the time, sort of a revenge petty thing. Ann Miller, it was funny because I was thinking about Easter Parade and then I watched Mulholland Drive, and Ann Miller's in that, and I love Mulholland Drive now. And kind of neat to see and think about that here as I've been working through David Lynch. But, his films. But this is a terrifically fun, memorable musical. And it has just song after awesome song. I have no idea why this is not higher on everyone's list. Please do yourself a favor and see Easter Parade if you haven't. It's great dancing as well. Like, it's not just music, it's dancing. And the only on-screen pairing, I thought that they were really good together. Peter Lawford's also in it, and he's obviously an awesome actor too. Now we're going to get down to the last two. And I could put either of these first, but I'm going to put Singing in the Rain at number 2. My wife and I did a little costume dress up as this a few years back. But if you haven't seen this is a great musical satire, funny, repeatable, charming, lovable. Debbie Reynolds, who is Carrie Fisher's mom, Gene Kelly, Donald O'Connor, they're all working together and making a show eventually after some bumpy starts because silent movies are going out, and this silent movie actress, her voice doesn't work right, and these three end up in the midst of all of that. Singing in the Rain is one of those films that every time you watch it, you're just going to give it a 10 out of 10, and it will always be better than the last time you watched it. It is just a perfect, awesome, pure experience. And realistically, if someone said, hey, what's the greatest musical ever made? I would say Singing in the Rain, but it's not my personal favorite. And this list is about your personal favorites. See Singing in the Rain, watch it again if you haven't. It is the pinnacle of musicals, except that there's one musical that blends with horror and a few other different genres, something that I have really found myself attached to over time. This is a film I talk about constantly that I will never grow bored of, The Wicker Man, which is my choice for my number 1 favorite musical. A young girl mysteriously vanishes, and Edward Woodward, who plays Sergeant Howie, has to go to Lord Summerisle's island to find her, and he is engaged in a battle of wits against these creepy people in this really odd little pagan town, and Christopher Lee, who said he did the film for free. And it has one of the most memorable endings in movie history, in my opinion. In fact, if you know what the ending I'm talking about and some of the way the shots lined up, that was lucky in and of itself. But eerie, spooky, campy, funny. Like, it's very hard to get a mix as good as The Wicker Man. And the writing of the music and the style and the tone really build everything. The world building, the suspense, the police drama. And there's some real interesting examinations of faith in the film. This is a film that is as much about Christianity and the exploration of it on a personal level as is anything that's ever been made. I love The Wicker Man, and sometimes people overlook it a little bit because they just think it's a campy horror movie. And I'm not talking about the Nick Cage version, although that's kind of funny in and of itself if you've ever tried to make it through that particular piece of media. I love The Wicker Man. Those are my top 10 choices. Let me know your favorites in the comments. If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful or good recommendations, whatever, give me that thumbs up button, would you? Under like and subscribe here if you haven't, because we talk about movies all the time at Cody in the Cinema.